My blood sugar was low the other day, and I managed not to say any racist rants, which is also
weird.
Very strange.
Yeah, or murder 8 people. That's weird. Huh? Amazing self-restraint you have there. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. She had a bad day the other night. I poured some tequila, had a gummy, and went to bed. That's the destruction I did.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Sounds like a good day.
That was actually based on a true story, by the way.
Okay, that is a true story. Yeah, we were saying this Georgia sheriff's captain who said the shooter was having a bad day because we give so many flying Fs what kind of day he was having. Several photos show him promoting T-shirts with the slogan "COVID-19 imported virus from China. Place your order while they last," he wrote with a smiley face on another photo that included the racist T-shirts. Okay.
Yeah. I can't understand why he said, well, this is not a race-motivated crime. Oh, this isn't a hate crime. Actually, it is, because killing 8 women alone is a hate crime. If you shoot women because they're women, that's a hate crime. If you shoot women because they're Asian women, it's also a hate crime. Like, there's no gray area.
But since when do we go off what the shooter says, who might know that there's hate crime legislation, that he's not going to say it was racially motivated? I can't. And misogyny, Dana, this is why I'm wearing my Hillary T-shirt, because of...
Very nice.
Just a lot of people on Twitter yesterday talking about the DNI report about Russia, that, they did the same thing in 2020, and thank God we're not successful like they were in 2016, or we would have had Hillary and none of it. But because of misogyny plus Russia equals this disaster that happened to this country in 2016.
It is kind of funny that the former guy was so bad of a candidate that even with interference, that they could not get him into a second term. I mean, that is there is some humor in that. He was so bad.
But again, Dana,
make it happen again.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, Dana. Every story in some ways connects. Why? Misogyny. Atlanta, why? Misogyny. It's the baseline of every single one of these shootings. These mass shooters, there is always a background of domestic violence or misogyny of some kind. It's part of all of these right-wing, white supremacist groups, misogyny, right? I mean, it's the word of the day, which is why I'm a big
giant... by plenty of women. And we don't do that. Steph and I have been turned down by plenty of women, and none of us walk in and shoot the place up. So... There's also that.
I haven't. No, I haven't. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I should speak for myself. I have been turned down by plenty of women, and I've never walked into some place.
Yeah, I haven't had sex in quite some time, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm tired of this incel thing. It's like, oh, okay, so I see. You had to lash out because blah 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And we were just saying, like, how many people will we ever, we'll never be able to actually count. Like, how many people are dead literally because of Donald Trump and his rhetoric? Starting, El Paso. I mean, it's just people that have
we know over 450,000. So that's a safe number.
Right.
550,000, actually.
Right.
So there's a safe number for you.
Somebody did a comparison once of a bunch of these crazy shooters, like basically guess the quote. You can't tell the difference between some of these shooters and Donald Trump. You're like, who said this? In terms of, just what kind of racist, hatred, misogynistic, whatever, it just, anyway. But, and here we are at this nexus, too, of gun violence again. I mean, it only kind of was tamped down because of COVID lockdowns, I think. And here we go again with legislation that 90-something% of Americans want that we're not going to get unless we get rid of the filibuster or reform it or whatever, however we do it, right?
No, I agree with you 100%. Even though we were locked down in COVID, gun sales were out the roof in 2020. They were record-breaking, and they're continuing to go up. So this isn't just sales. This is stockpiling for when people have to go out into the real world. And that's terrifying, considering how much hate the former guy spread and the mouthpiece he gave to so many hateful groups. And
by the way, Dana, every issue is intersecting today. That you can get a gun. He got a gun day of, right? Yeah. You can't vote day of in Georgia. They're trying to stop you from being able to vote, but anybody can get a gun. How many hundred and something Republicans vote? How do you vote against the Violence Against Women Act and say, yes, it's fine for domestic abusers or stalkers to get guns?
I think the title of the act in general is confusing to Republicans. It's called the Violence Against Women. You think they would have voted for it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're all for violence against women. Here's my yes vote.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. And then meanwhile, QAnon, Veronica and Betty, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. They're just, what is this? Okay. I don't even know what it is. Culture wars. They're not doing anything to help anybody, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene accused transgender people of destroying God's creation. She said, again, Democrats want to violate girls' and women's rights by destroying God's creation, male and female. She also railed against legislation on the House floor. She said, now they have destroyed the family and the housing law. Now they want to push a progressive gender ideology. Oh, Marjorie Taylor. I don't... Green, she's Marjorie Greene. She is the mayor of Crazyville. Okay, and then not to be outdone, QAnon Veronica Lauren Boebert unleashed a bizarre rant against the Equality Act. Right, because equality's in the title, Dana, we can't have that. She paced back and forth with a firearm strapped to her thigh and said, I've decided I don't want Democrats to call me Congresswoman. I want to acknowledge that man is a gender-neutral term, and they can call me Congressman Boebert, she said to wild applause. Democrats under this legislation are seeking to replace mom and dad with bureaucrats. What are these crazy women talking about?
The anger. They're not making any sense. It's so hard for me not to curse right now and get bleeped off the show.
Yes.
It's infuriating. It's also infuriating that they're going to sit here and talk about how they want to protect women's rights and women's spaces, and in the same breath sign one of the most anti-abortion legislation in the country, many of these people. And so suddenly that, we care about women goes right out the window. You're not going to protect them with violence, but you're all of a sudden going to use this as a hate talking point rhetoric against transgender people. Go F yourself. I can't.
Yeah. 12 Republicans voted against the House resolution awarding the Congressional Gold Medal to Capitol Police who responded to the riot. Of course, all the usual suspects, right? Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, Andy Biggs. The reason given that they don't like the term insurrection, about the Capitol insurrection. So all right. And then we skip to One America News channel confessed in 2019 it was working with an active Russian agent, Durkash. Is that the one mentioned in the DNI?
Yes.
Less than a year before Trump's administration revealed him to be working for Russian intelligence, the network did over a half dozen interviews with Ukrainian officials, including Durkash. The network did a series of propaganda films they called documentaries, claiming it would prove Joe Biden was enthralled in a Ukraine scandal that never existed. Durkash was also in the recent released report from the Office Director of National Intelligence that said Russian intelligence was working with Trump allies and conservative news outlets to promote false propaganda. Why is Rudy Giuliani not in prison for this? As Clara Haskell said, he is a traitor. He is a clear traitor to the United States. And
and as dumb as he appears, I know Rudy's not that dumb.
I know. And this is why Adam Schiff said, oh my God, I was glad to hear an American president not cringe when him talking about his conversations with Putin, right? Joe Biden, president yesterday.
He will pay a price. We had a long talk. He and I know him relatively well. And the conversation started off, I said, I know you and you know me. If I establish this occurred, then be prepared.
You said you know he doesn't have a soul.
Well, I did say that to him, yes. And his response was, we understand one another. I wasn't being a wise guy. I was alone with him in his office. That's how it came about. It was when President Bush had said, I've looked in his eyes and saw a soul. I said, looked in your eyes, and I don't think you have a soul. And looked back at me and said, we understand each other.
That's how you talk to a Russian dictated murderous thug that has tried to steal 2 of our elections.
Absolutely.
Have I mentioned that I will die mad about what happened to Hillary? Okay. I'm just saying, people on the right or even the far left, Dana, that try to deny Russia or say we're all still conspiracy theorists, really? This latest report came from Trump's intelligence, right? That they not only
both far ends
installed him in 2016, but they tried again in 2020. And if
the both ends of the spectrum, the right and the left, are being funded by the same people.
Yeah.
This is not a surprise to any of us that are sane, and I'm not saying centric,
right?
Not fanatical, extremists on the left or the right. And they exist. They are being funded by the same people.
But now you have not the Obama administration and the Trump administration saying the same thing. Russia intervened to help Trump, to install Trump, when they succeeded in 2016 and nearly in 2020. I mean, it's okay. Joe Biden again about vaccines.
How do you get the politics out of this vaccine talk?
Well, Russia's also in that.
I honest to God thought we had it out. I honest to God thought that once we guaranteed we had enough vaccine for everybody, things would start to calm down. Well, they have calmed down a great deal, but I just don't understand this sort of macho thing about I'm not going to get the vaccine. I have a right as an American, my freedom to not do it. Well, why don't you be a patriot? Protect other people.
Again, Dana, Russia smack in the middle of that, right? Dr.
100%.
Redlener was just talking about the anti-vaxxer stuff, right?
Totally. And I completely blame the former guy. He got the vaccine in secret in the White House in January. If he had done this publicly, 43% of Republicans refusing to get the vaccine, I guarantee that wouldn't be the case. I am so infuriated by how much damage he has done that is going to last a generation to this country, if not longer.
Yes.
One person.
Yes. And you and I and Sean, I'm sure, would love to get vaccinated. We were just reading tweets earlier, Dana, about all the no-shows, even here in L.A. And then in some cases, the vaccine goes bad. I mean, there was wide open slots at Dodger Stadium. And it's just, I mean, that's the next hill we're going to have to climb. As Dr. Doom was saying, we are in such a race now, vaccines against these variants, because I feel like at this point, Dana, vaccines are the only thing that's going to save us because of the mask holes and COVIDiots that are not going to comply with public health measures, which would also help us get through this. It's both. It's getting vaccinated quickly enough and continuing the masking and distancing until we, and sure enough, rates are going back up in some places.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. The variants, they worry me if we don't do this fast enough. And, all these people I don't need a mask. I don't need a vaccine. Well, you're going to carry this stuff around. And for the people that did get vaccinated and protected, well, hopefully we won't end up in the hospital or dead, but you're still passing this stuff around.
Yeah, you can still get it and give it. That's why we got to keep the public health measures going. It's a whole, and we were just saying it's so infuriating, all the countries that have done this and gotten through it. And we just won't do it. We won't largely just comply so we can get through this. I mean, it's infuriating. All right, 19 minutes after the hour. Dana only made me bitchier. I mean, not in a good way, but I